D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I watched this episode last night, and then I didn't have enough time to. Oh no, I watched it yesterday. Sorry, and I didn't have time to record a video and edit and post it and all that stuff because I had to go to work. You know, I've been working doubles all this week. If you're a blue collar person like me, you know what I'm talking about. Got to pay those bills. But I liked this episode. I thought it was very good. You know, it had action. You know, it had some touching moments, some tense moments. Not an overwhelming amount of those, but some pretty good ones. It talked about, you know, things like it wasn't like identity politics overload. You know, it just had some what would you do in this situation kind of questions and everything. And yeah, and I liked it a lot. I mean, the action sequences were really good. I always like, you know, I like the spaceship battles, but I feel like the human connection, you know, the person to person connection is always really good also. So yeah, so I liked it, and the show is killing it. I'm curious if they're gonna do a season 4 or not. A small piece of me feels like they're not gonna do a season 4, which I'm all like, why wouldn't you? You know, I mean, I think I don't know. We'll see. We'll see though. If it's here for season 4, I'm here, you know. I'm down with the sickness and everything. Okay, so I just want to say one more thing before I get started on this breakdown. I just want to say that if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is always changing up their algorithm, and small channels like mine, we always get shoved to the back of the line. And now they've changed the algorithm even more, so it's really hard for us small channels. So I please ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and I thank you in advance. I also ask that you do this for any small YouTuber. They would appreciate it also. All right. So let's get started on this breakdown. I'll try to make it quick. So it starts off on Krill, and we get the chancellor and everything. Ta'ala. Shoot, I didn't pull up the cast. I don't remember how to say her name. I'm probably saying it wrong, and you guys are gonna like lambast me and be like, "That's not how you say her name. It's whatever, Ta'ala." And I'm all like, "Ah, Jesus." Anyways, okay, so. She gets visited by an ambassador of the Mocklins because they just recently got kicked out of the Union. So they're all like, we propose that we become an alliance and everything. And she's all like, you know, what do you have to give to us? And they're all like, well, we're gonna give you we'll give you what we were given the Union. We made all their weapons. And so, but by the way, this is the penultimate episode. I totally forgot to mention that. So she's all like, she's like, what are your conditions for this? And they're all like, well, we would, she's like, who would rule? And he's like, we would make all the decisions. And she's all like, yeah, but you guys, she's like, why? And they're like, well, because in all honesty, you're a woman. And she's all like, well, you guys lack, you know, precision or something like that. You lack a woman's touch and everything. So she's like, it'll be joint leadership, or we're not going to do this. And because they're all like, you know, armed forces combined together will be unstoppable. So she's all, so there's like, I have to go back and talk to my people. I'll my people call your people. So then we go to this planet where the Federation have formed this little circle of ships. It's very cool and everything. And they're all like, the Kalon are coming. So the Kalon drop out of hyperspace. It's not called hyperspace, but I can't remember what it's called and everything. But anyways, it's just hyperspace. So they drop out and they're like, get in tighter formation. And they create this little thing right here. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm like, this is cool. And so they get in real close, and the Kalons are firing. They're like, and everything, and they're shooting everything, and they're shooting back, but then they start up this machine. It's Bird and Isaac, and so they start up this machine, and they're like, get in real tight, get in real close, everybody. And then sorry, Burke. I called her Bird. It's Burke. And then they set it off, and it sends out this shock wave and everything, and the Kalons explode. They just explode. And so Isaac's like, did it work? And they're all like, yeah, it did. It friggin' worked awesome. Look at all these ships there. They're kablooey. So then back on Earth, the Union is talking about this, and they're like, the weapon was successful. And they're like, you know, we should they're like, we should fire this weapon ASAP. We should go and destroy the Kalon and everything. And they're like, well, there's questions, you know, is this right? Should we destroy an entire species? And because this is genocide, and they're like, well, we're gonna put it to the and you can tell that I think you can tell he's annoyed. But they're like, we're gonna put it to a vote with the council or whatnot, and we're gonna decide that. So then back on the Orville, these four sit here chit chat, right? And Lamar is all like, this is a bigger decision than just pushing a button and destroying an entire species. You know, we have to talk about this. And she's all like, I don't see what the problem is. They want to kill us. We want to live. End of discussion. We should just push the button. And Gordon agrees with her. He's like, I'm on her side, you know, and then he's like, you just want revenge. Gosh, I don't want to get her name wrong because you guys, Tala is all like, you know, my father says revenge is for children and then somebody else. And then Burke, she says, you know, Lamar, she's like, I understand that Isaac is your best friend, but don't you think you're being a little biased? And he gets upset about that because he's being a little, you know, weak sauce right now. And he's all like, watch yourself, commander, or whatever he calls her. Or ensign, and I'm all like, he's like, I gotta go and everything, and he leaves. But I'm all like, oh, don't be a little bitch. Like, you are being biased. I get it. You know, and that's the thing. He's being all sensitive about something that's true. I get it. If your best friend is something that you don't want to, you know, that you're dead. Isaac is his best friend. The Kalon are trying to kill him all. I get his bias, and I don't understand why he doesn't just be like, yeah, I am biased because Isaac's awesome. I do like Isaac. So then they're talking, and they've decided that they're gonna send the Orville with the weapon to Kalon, or their homeworld. It's called Kalon, right? We're just gonna call it Kalon. And they're gonna do a little demonstration to get them to have a ceasefire. So they're off, and they get there, and they come out, and they're like, we would like to talk. We want to talk to your leader. Take us to your leader, kind of thing. And they surround them, and they're getting ready to fire, and then they set off the weapon, and that first wave. So then they go to the second wave, like, we want to talk to your leader. And they set off the second wave and everything. So but after the second wave gets destroyed, they're all like, the Kalon are like, ah, shit, we need to talk to him. So they take him down to the planet, which planet's really cool. It's a really cool planet and everything. Yeah, it's really cool. So they land, and they go to the Prime, the Kalon Prime, and they're like, we obviously have nothing to fight back. What are your terms? And he's all like, we would put, everything in order to where we would be checking that you'd make sure that you're staying at a ceasefire. And he's all like, you do know, at some point in time, we will find a flaw in your weapon and we'll just go back to killing you. Right. And they're like, well, we are hoping by that time we'll change your mind, kind of thing about this whole situation. So then they're taking some time off and everything. And these two are singing again, which I just want to say real quick. The last episode that the actor that plays Gordon sang, Scott Grimes. I said I didn't know if he had sung, if he was singing, or they just voiced over somebody singing. But one of you had commented that that was him singing, and he's got they both have a beautiful singing voice. I just want to say though, stop these episodes where you got a whole like minute and a half where you're singing. Like, I'm not interested in this right now. This whole season, you got a lot of singing. I'm like, all right, we need to wrap it up with this singing. I'm surprised Bortus didn't jump in there. So then they're all having a little party there. Bortus can't crack these walnuts, which I'm all like, it's not really that hard and everything. And then Tala comes in, and of course she has to do it with just her bare hands because she's a woman and she has to show up the all male species. He's all like, you have now embarrassed us. And I'm all like, is it really that embarrassing? I mean, who cares? They're looking at the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. I don't know if I said it right. I'm not good with crap like that. But the Northern Lights and everything, and he shows them the Little Dipper constellation. And Burke is out here sitting here, and she's drinking alone. And he comes out and he's like, hey, maybe you and Gordon can do another song. And she's like, maybe later. He's like, all right. And she's like, we should have pushed the button, they're just going to kill us kind of thing. And he talks to her a little bit more and everything. So then we go back to Union headquarters or Union Central. And this guy goes down and he's like, hey, I've got orders to transport the weapon. And he's like, I don't have any orders. And he's like, are you sure? They came in like an hour ago. You should check your thing. So he goes to check and then he stabs him. And this guy tries to do it and she blasts him in the back. And then they steal the weapon and the shuttle goes, it blasts off and everything. The next day, she's enjoying the sunrise. And they get a call from the admiral and he's all like, the weapon's been stolen. Get your ship. We're going to go and everything. So then we find out that the admiral stole the weapon. And he takes it to the Kaylon and she's all like, why are you giving this to us? And he's like, because you guys won't hesitate. You'll use the weapon. And that's what I need. I need you guys to use the weapon. And you've got this Mocklin right here. And she's all like, what will you do now that you've betrayed your people? He's like, I'm going to go back and answer for my crimes, which I'm like, good. He should answer for his crimes. He did a bad thing. Although at the same time, I'm all like, I would have just pushed the button. You ever get that, that there was that movie called The Box or whatever. And then there was that question of like, you have a box, right? And there's a button on it. And if you push the button, one person dies that you do not know. But if you push it, you get $1 million. As soon as he said, he starts it off by, if you push this button, you get $1 million. I was like, beam. And he's like, but you don't know what the answer is. I was like, yeah, but it's $1 million. What could be so bad? So then he leaves and him and the Mocklin are debating. They're like, she's all like, we shouldn't let him go because he knows that we're in an alliance. And he's like, well, they're going to know eventually. And she's like, we're going to destroy him. So they destroy his ship. I have to say right now, I don't like the design of these ships. Like, they're not ugly. I just don't like them. Anyways, so back on Earth, they're all like, the Admiral stole it. Why would he do this? And he's like, he was a little upset that we didn't decide to destroy the Kaylons right off the bat. So then they're traveling along and they go to this planet. Okay. So here's the thing. Something I forgot to mention. They have to pull energy from their quantum core and to power up the weapon. And if they get a big enough power, because their core is smaller, relatively smaller, it can only get so far. You have to be within certain range of their ship for the weapon to work. So Bortus is all like, they would go to that base. That's the only place that they could go or whatever to do it and everything. So they head to that one base from was it last episode or like an episode ago and everything. And there's a huge fleet of Mocklin, and look at all these ships, these little dots. They're all ships. I'm like, oh man, they did not pull out any stops. And they're preparing the weapon or whatnot. And they call for reinforcements. The Kaylon were really funny. They're all like, you idiots, you've lost it. We shouldn't have depended on you to keep it safe. You're humans, your organics. You guys suck and everything. That's not exactly how they said it, but it was pretty much like, you guys screwed up. Like, maybe you guys shouldn't handle stuff because you obviously screwed up. And they're all like, listen, are you going to send backup? Because we got our ships. We got backup from our people. Are you going to send us backup? Because your fate is in their hands at this moment. And so they show up. They devise a plan. They're going to go down to again, they're all like, you guys screwed up. Thanks for being idiots. So they've devised a plan. A small group of women and Isaac and the primary are going to go down to the planet, and they're going to try to get the weapon / stop them from using it. The ships are going to create a distraction up in space. But a small, little battalion of those fighters that we had in episode 1 that Gordon was flying, they're going to escort the shuttle. And everything. So then this guy's all like, there's someone coming out of quantum drive, and they're fighting with the Union ships. And he's like, we will handle this soon. And then the backup shows up of the Kaylon, and they start destroying them and everything. And then it's like an even fight. Like, they're all like, all right, let's do this and everything. So then the shuttle they head down to the planet and everything, and then the fighters are following them. And I got a bunch of screenshots of this aerial battle, but it's hard to do it like with still shots with you guys. I'm sorry, please don't be upset with me. So they're doing this. It's very cool. The krill fighters are doing like this thing, and they're like and everything. I was like, ooh, that was cool. Very Top Gun Mavericky, kind of. Anyways, so then they're fighting, but they realize the shuttle's going down. They're not getting down far enough. So they're gonna do the thing that they do in every single movie where they drop out, and then they do the thing where they fly down like this and everything. I'm all like, man, I've had enough of this in shows and mostly in movies, but I've had enough of this. I mean, like they did it in Star Trek. They did it in Black Widow. They did it in other stuff. I can't remember. They did it in Star Trek twice. I've just had a little bit enough of it, kind of thing. It's fine though, whatever. So then they drop down, and then they're jet packing it and everything, and they land, and she opens up the doors because Isaac can't do it because he's a man. And then they go through the tunnels. They're fighting with guns and everything, and inside the little room where they've created this huge quantum ball reactor thing, she's all like, when will it be ready? And they're all like, it'll be ready soon. Then they come, they're like, the base has been breached, and she's all like, go protect it at all costs. Doctor, I want you to turn this thing on now and fire it. And I think she threatens him, like, if it's not ready to go by the time I get back, you are gonna die. I think she says that. I don't remember. This is the base is pretty cool though. I think it looks pretty cool. This whole thing kind of reminds me of Star Killer Base kind of thing with that whole thing, but it's at the same time it was a good episode. If any complaints I have, it's still a good episode. So they're fighting, and these fighters are losing just because they're pretty much like outnumbered and everything. And yeah. So Tala. I'm just gonna say Tala. It's not Tala. It's because that's Kelly or Kali. Okay, so this is not Tala. Hold on. I want to get it right because Talea. There we go. Too many T's, I think. No, Tala's the other chick. So Talea, she's all like, put down your weapon or I will slit your throat and everything. Long story short, Kelly gets the upper hand and they start fighting. The doctor sets the machine up and gets it ready. He gets the countdown ready. And he's all like, hey, listen, we can't beat these fighters. And they're like, just try to destroy the base from the outside kind of thing, because the weapon is on. And they turn on these big guns and start firing at them and everything. So then they get into the sorry, I didn't get any still shots of it. I apologize. They get into this little room and they're all like, turn it off. And he's all like, I can't turn it off. The thing is already going. And Burke's all like, oh, not Burke. Burke. She's all like, challenge accepted, fuckers. So she starts working her magic. And Isaac starts helping also. He kills all four of the little people trying to start up the machine, including the doctor. And she's all like, looking at him like, hey, you didn't have to do that. They weren't a threat to us. These two are still fighting. And they're still working their magic. And he tries to leave, and Isaac watches him as he leaves, and he lets him go. And he's like, why did you let him go? And he's like, killing him was unnecessary. It wouldn't have done anything. So Kelly's about to lose, and Tala comes in, helps her out. They realize that they can't shut down the machine in time, or she can shut down the machine, but it's going to explode. It's going to explode before she can get out. They don't have time. And Kelly's all like, get out if you can. She's like, all right, I will. But she doesn't. She doesn't. So they leave and everything. And this whole time, Kalon Prime is watching, because he's all like, she's going to sacrifice herself for us. And so the thing, they leave, they get out of range or whatever. And then she fires the thing, and she's like, I'm here, Amber, or Kelly, or whatever the name of the girl that she fell in love with on the other ship that died, that saved her, that sacrificed herself to save her. And then it explodes and she dies. It's a very cool explosion, very cool effects. This show has got very, very cool effects. This episode was very long, by the way. They really want to show off these effects, you guys, which the battle was very cool, and I get it. So it's cool. So they're all like, where's Burke? And she's all like, we couldn't save her. And so they leave and everything, and they're talking to the Kalon. And he's all like, "We're thinking maybe we made a mistake." And she's like, "You're damn straight you did." And they're like, "We would just wonder why she would sacrifice herself to save us." And they're like, "Because, even though you hate us because you think we're just gonna enslave you again, we're actually, that's the kind of people we are." And that's the thing I like about, like, I know I'm bringing up Star Trek, but this is a very Star Trek show. In Star Trek, the Kobayashi Maru, that whole program, and please do not get upset with me if I don't get this 100% right, but one of the things of that program is to prepare you for death, because you're not always going to win. You're not always going to win. And when you were in a situation like this, are you willing to sacrifice yourself to save others? The good of the many outweigh the good of the good of the few. So, and that's what it was. Burke sacrificed herself to save all of the Kalons, so that maybe they'll stop trying to kill them and see that we're worth, not killing and living, kind of thing. So then, he goes to talk to his former love, Talea. Gosh, I keep getting Tala and Talea messed up. And he's all like, "Listen," he's like, "I have to take you back to Earth. There's no letting you go this time, honey." He's all like, "You have to answer for your crimes." And she's all like, he's like, "But our daughter can come live with me." She's all like, "You let me go and you can have our daughter." And he's like, "The Union will never let that happen. They're not going to give you up, the Supreme Chancellor of Krill, for a child. They're not going to do it." She's all like, "Then I will make sure she's like, "You're never going to see your daughter again." And then I'm all like, this is such indicative of real life, in the fact that, like, listen, and I'm going to say this, and if you get offended, oh well. In real life, women use children in divorces and breakups all the time against men. And it's horrible. Like, they're all like, "I'm leaving you and you're never going to see your children again." So, and it's just they use children as a weapon, and horrible. So then he leaves because he's all like, there's no talking to you. So then back on Earth, they offer the Kalons a provisional seat at the table, within the Union or whatever. They're like, "Listen, if you be good for a certain amount of time, we'll offer you a permanent seat within the Union." And they're like, "This is acceptable. We'll do it," and everything. And that's why what makes me wonder if this show's going to get another a fourth season, because they're wrapping up all this stuff. And I go, what would you do with season 4? But their writers are smart enough. They can figure it out. So they're having the funeral for Burke and everything. And he says, some stuff right here. For being the captain, he's not very, prevalent in this season. So then Isaac comes up and he says something. And he talks about how Burke liked pancakes. It was her favorite food. And she just liked it with butter and syrup. She didn't want any fruit and everything. And she liked it. It was her favorite food growing up as a kid and everything. And then he talks about how even though he didn't, and I'm paraphrasing all of this because I wrote down, even though she didn't like him, she sacrificed herself to save his kind. And that's the kind of person that she was. We don't really, because you talk about how, like, we really don't know the people that we think we know. We know very little about them, but we feel like maybe sometimes we know so much, kind of thing. And that's so true. Like, no matter how, like, how do you really know everybody around you? Like, do you really, really know them? Does anybody really, really know anybody? So, and he just talked about how her sacrifice was a part of her. Like, she was what's the word? Like a selfless person, kind of thing. And it ends with her funeral, like a little picture of her right there. And I have to say, when it comes to her death, real quick, before I just my final thoughts, is I felt like this was also a little bit of like they created this character for this season and then they killed her off this season. So I'm all like, did you just create a character for this season so you could kill him off and like get us all attached? Because I didn't feel attached to this character. I just felt like she was in every episode, and in every episode she was just a big curmudgeon. Like she was just angry all the time. Like she was just an angry lesbian. And I'm all like, way to stereotype. I didn't feel when she died, I was like, oh, okay, moving on. Now, if it was somebody like Bortus, I'm like, no, not Bortus. I love Bortus. Or Gordon, I'd be like, no, not Gordon. Burke, I was like, okay, Burke's gone. Bye, Burke. I mean, she's hot though. The actress is super freaking hot. From what I hear, she's dating that McFarlane. So that is my breakdown of this episode, you guys. Again, very good. I thought I liked it a lot. It wasn't too preachy. I hate preachy when it comes to my shows. Like, I mean, a little bit of preachy's okay, but sometimes these shows, they just go so hard. They go so hard. I'm like, I don't want it hard. I want it soft. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just want to be eased into it, but yeah, that's my breakdown and everything and my thoughts on and everything. Tell me, what did you guys think about this episode? Did you like this episode? Did you not like this episode? Next week, season finale, maybe series finale. We shall find out soon. I don't know. But tell me what you guys thought about this. Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys next week on my Orville breakdown and review. You guys have a good week. Bye.